Hello and welcome to the Eamon on Track podcast. I am Eamon, and I am delightfully have my guest on today, Benny Graves.
Hello there.
Yes,
Welcome from England.
from across the pond, as they say.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Look at this. Live streaming across the water.
Today, we are going to be talking about the self-titled album by Black Sabbath. So we were talking about this earlier, Benny, but you said that you really picked this album because it kind of was the format of black metal album, or just metal album in general, even.
Yeah, it's significant. That's a good word to use for this album for sure. Because it's not even Black Sabbath's best album. It's not even like their most well-known with Paranoid and War Pigs and all that stuff. But it's like so significant in the history of heavy rock and obviously the creation of heavy metal as well, I think.
Yeah, like it was one of the most important albums, I'd argue, in all of rock.
Sure. I mean, a lot of people don't like hard rock. You know, once it gets too hard, they'll kind of like come out. But for like everybody else is kind of in with it, yeah, it was hugely pivotal.
Well, you know, it's got
creating a whole new type of rock music.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting because they're very much like Led Zeppelin in a sense. They both kind of got this blues influence, you know, for heavy rock and heavy metal, but they kind of went in two very different directions almost.
Yeah, for real. I mean, Led Zeppelin were like, a classical blues band. You know, like their core is blues for sure. And I mean, Black Sabbath the same. Like they all grew up playing blues and practicing blues and everything else. But they just like something about, you know, their direction they wanted to go is like, let's just go harder. Let's go full tilt. Let's just turn it right up and, you know, turn the overdrive up and make it scarier and darker and everything else. And yeah, they create a whole.
I mean, this is definitely a scary album, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, because I watched Ozzy Osbourne himself kind of talking about this album, and he's like, I remember we were all grouping together, we were looking for something different to say, and it's like, you know, and he said his brother used to like go to a load of horror movies because he was like older than him, to a cinema, you know, nearby them, which is actually where they picked up the name Black Sabbath, because I think that's a movie starring Bela Lugosi. It's like one of the old
interesting.
horrors.
I did not know that.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty sure they just lifted the title. So yeah, there's a movie called Black Sabbath, which they thought of.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how this be a horror-based thing. Like,
and he's like,
it's a good segue to the cover, because I mean, you look at this, and it's basically, I think that's Ozzy Osbourne there.
No, I think they actually got. It wasn't Ozzy Osbourne. It was someone they knew though. I think it was like a female family friend who just put shrouds on, and they kind of fiddled with the picture and stuff. But yeah, the front cover is fantastic.
It's beautiful. Like, I mean, you look at this, and it's like, it almost looks like it was drawn.
It's like, yeah, it's got a lot of layers, man. It's a simple pick, but shit.
But it really works, and I feel like it really, like, going with that horror thing. It definitely feels like it's from a horror movie.
For sure, it's ominous.
Yeah,
it's, you know, yeah, it messes with your mind a little bit. It's kind of trippy, but yeah, like the album cover of this album it perfectly aligns with the music that's inside it. That's one of the things.
It definitely does, and I feel like that's what an album cover should do, is like
absolutely
visually tell you what kind of music you're getting.
Yeah, for real. And especially as they're starting like a whole new thing, right? They're like, how are we gonna, you know, depict this? How are we gonna put a picture out there, you know, next to all the other records that's going to make people like, whoa, my goodness, what is this?
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh yeah, that too, being eye-catching and getting people's attention.
Yeah, or even horrifying. I don't know, but yeah, it's like,
yeah, it's definitely true.
That's with horror, isn't it? Like, it's, oh my goodness, but you still get that reaction. So
yeah, it certainly is a big reaction.
Yeah. So like the cover suits it well.
So let's talk about the first track first.
Yes, sir.
So it's interesting to me because this album doesn't actually start with the track. Almost, it starts with rain sounds.
Yeah, exactly. The sound of thunderstorms and an ominous bell. I think it's like 10 or 12 seconds before the music kicks in, and you're like, what is this? Is this even music? It's just like ominous, scary sounds happening. But that's the beauty of it, man. Yeah. It's like theatrical. It's much more theatrical, apart from maybe Alice Cooper, than had like happened before. I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, we're going into the 70s when this album happens. That was definitely when the theatrics were at their highest.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously you don't have music videos and all that kind of gear. You've really got to project it with what little you have. With your cover and you say track one, you just got to. I mean, track one, they set the tone. Like they absolutely said, like, this is what we're doing, and here's a great example of it.
I mean, it's a good point because they kind of go crashing in with this guitar riff in the beginning, from Tony Iommi. It kind of it sets the entire idea of the album.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it builds up slowly as well. Like it's kind of scary and distant, but then basically, I don't know, you can almost feel it coming closer to you as the first track progresses. That's why I love it, man. Yeah,
it does. I actually didn't know that. I don't remember hearing that part.
As I say, I don't even know how they do it because obviously it's back in the 70s. But you got your guitar sound. Either you double layer it or you kind of gradually turn it up or whatever. But basically just like that ramping up, like orchestral,
I see what you mean. I thought you meant like.
Yeah.
I thought you said like yeah, but yeah, no, it definitely has like it starts slow, but then it also like you said, it picks up. Like even the speed of the song picks up.
Oh yeah, it goes bananas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's longer than you think as well. In fact, it's kind of a 3-part song as well. Like you got the whole very minimalist intro, the build up, and then all hell's breaking loose by the end of it. Which
where you just got the guitars just going really like.
I mean, I'll say, before we move on to the next track or whatever, I'd say that this one track laid the foundations for not only heavy metal but like doom metal and loads of subgenres of that, like power metal, things like Judas Priest, Motorhead, like everybody else. Just it all started snowballing as soon as this kind of record released. Like everyone was like, now this is this thing called heavy metal, and we could all get on board.
Yeah, it's weird because you don't really think too much about. Well, I'm sure people think about it now, but there isn't so much birth of genres as much, I feel like, now.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, wow, this entire thing has just been invented, basically. This entire part of music.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it took people didn't know what to think. Like Ozzy's own father was like, I don't know what the hell this is. I don't know what you're doing over there in the studio. But yeah, he was like blown away. I say, I don't know. Ahead of their time. That's what happens to you when you're ahead of your time. Nobody knows what you're doing, but they come around eventually. But yeah, obviously Black Sabbath would kind of continue to go in all kinds of musical directions, and certainly this is obviously the most raw album, or one of them.
It's definitely a little rougher than I expected for technically being produced by Warner Brothers. Although,
yeah, I know what you mean, man. It is I don't know. It's certainly suited to vinyl because, once you press it on CD or remaster it or something, nothing changes. It's pretty much the same. But yeah, I don't know. What you can hear is, the 4 guys involved and kind of doing their musical prowess and finding who they are as well. Yeah. I'm a big fan of all 4 guys in this band.
I was about to say, I really like Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, and Geezer Butler, but I think that there needs to be some appreciation given towards what's the drummer's name?
Bill Ward? Yeah, man.
Bill Ward. Thank you. Kind of proving my point. People need to give more respect towards Bill Ward, drummer, because he has some tasty fills on this album.
Oh, yeah. Well put. So I'll absolutely agree with that one. Yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, as they kind of went on in their career, they kind of fell out with Bill Ward and the rest of the band.
They fell out with Bill Ward and they fell out with Ozzy Osbourne too.
Yeah, no, but Ozzy, out of the 2, no one had thought it was Ozzy who was going to come back.
Yeah, that's true.
Him and not Bill Ward, unfortunately. But I say, if they'd have managed to keep Bill Ward a little bit more, people would have kind of really realized, because he's an unbelievable drummer. He's a unique drummer.
Yeah, very much.
Fills and little bits of wizardry and stuff. He's nice, good with the blues, good with the heavy, but there's just nuances in it as well, little bits and pieces. Yeah, he's tip top, man.
Interesting.
There's another Black Sabbath album called Master of Reality, like the one that's like black and purple on the front.
Right.
And yeah, you can really hear Bill Ward going to town on that one. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you want to say about the track?
Oh, I mean, yeah, probably a lot. As I say, all you metalheads out there, and all you like new, I'm a fan of power metal, speed metal, doom metal, like whatever, Candlemass, you like all that shit. It's Black Sabbath or nothing. And if you ask all those bands, ask any one of them, Metallica, fucking all the greatest bands, they'll be like, oh, Black Sabbath, I wouldn't have done it without them. So, you know.
That's true. Anyway,
yeah,
we go on to The Wizard. This is interesting, I believe this is the song that uses harmonica on it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, now
so you very much get that blues thing. I feel like you would never hear harmonica in metal nowadays. It's such a
it's unlikely for sure,
but it works. I mean,
you know, Ozzy just happens to like play the thing and play the mouth harp, and he throws it in there. But yeah, it works again because they stuck with the blues, like, and that's what it's kind of a shame that like this album didn't give rise to more blues metal. Maybe there's some around there, but yeah, I really just love the kind of mix of it because they don't substitute on the blues, but they also don't substitute on going as hard as possible. You know, at the same time, so it's wicked. I don't know. I think it's a really hard album to make, in my opinion, but they just kind of came up with it.
Well, yeah. Again, you got to think about. We know what metal is, right? They basically didn't. The term metal wasn't even really a thing. I don't think.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. So on The Wizard, I don't know. It kind of starts because you've got the big intro track, Black Sabbath, and it's established the tone for sure. And now they get to kind of play with it. So yeah, The Wizards, for me, it's kind of like, right, let's go on our little journey that we're going to go on. Now that you're in our world, now that you kind of, seen a little bit about what we're doing.
I agree with that. And I almost think that the second track on an album is equal to, if not more important than the first track on an album, because the first track has to pull you in, but the second track has to keep the momentum up. And this song definitely does.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, and I mean, it's, again, it keeps the momentum up, but it also kind of tells you, like, just get ready because you don't know what we're about to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of as simple as that. I don't think I have much else to say about it, though. You?
No. Yeah, it's like The Wizard's simple. It's rhythmic. It's got the blues in there. It's got the harmonica in there. Yeah, but I say once you kind of see what else is next, it's Behind the Wall of Sleep.
Behind the Wall of Sleep.
Sorry, Sam. I'm going to jump on your toes here.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go back and fix that, and then I didn't fix it. Whoops.
Don't worry. I'm just eagerly over enthusiastic about this album. Yeah. This kind of way,
yeah. This is another, like Bill Ward, as we were talking about earlier. This is a very good song to show his strengths as a drummer. I feel like.
Yeah, it's like it's not even regular. It's kind of there's got a beat, but like it's kind of whatever way he wants to do. He's setting the tone.
It's interesting because something I noticed about this album is that they like to take like these sections where like he'll take a drum fill and then like the guitar will take like a moment too. Like they'll almost take like a small solo.
Yeah, I mean, even on because this is the first album, right? They seem well practiced. Like they're mixing in amongst.
They're definitely they definitely. It almost feels like like they definitely understand each other.
Yeah, man. Well, they did practice hard. Like they always, they were close knit in the beginning for sure. And obviously, all them hours of practice pay off. You can't be a good band without practicing, of course.
No, God no.
Behind the Wall of Sleep. Let's see, because it starts to establish as well. Like Tony's going, it's basically giving everybody a bit of freedom.
Yep.
Yeah, like
everybody is just like kind of like you do this and we'll put all these ideas together. Almost.
Yeah, I mean it's it's okay. It's bluesy, jazzy. Like I say, these guys are good at like just doing their own thing, but like synchronizing it. You know,
It's interesting you say jazzy.
I think it's a little jazzy.
Yeah,
Well,
I can see
especially for metal, hard rock. Like it's probably some of the jazziest you'll find still.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And again, like these I don't know. This track is it's kind of light. This track's kind of light for the album, basically.
Yeah, a little bit.
Apart from the lyrics, obviously.
I think we're ready to go on to NIB. You?
Oh.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna just say it now. I think this was my favorite song on the album. As a bass player, I mean, the bass riff for NIB is literally iconic. Like, it's one of the most important bass lines ever.
Mm-hmm.
The way it combines beautifully with the guitar and the drums, they're just locked into this groove this entire song.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no arguments here. It's superb. Yeah, it's probably my other I say first track's probably my favorite. This is probably my second. But yeah, because he starts. Yeah, Geezer's got a beautiful bass track. This whole song. He experiments with it, and he's got filters and all kinds of stuff on it, getting funky or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's got that fuzz on it, which sounds really cool.
Yeah, right, but it's still dark.
Yeah,
like dark funk.
No, exactly. And it's crazy to me a little bit how they got a sound this heavy and this is 1969, right?
Yeah, or 70 or 71. It's around there. It's around the turn of the 70s.
About that, right? And then you think about what came out the year earlier, like Helter Skelter came out the year before this. And we talked about that song on a previous episode. Okay. And it's it's hard, but it's not nearly this heavy.
Yeah. As I say, they just all of a sudden were like, right, we've had enough. We're making it scary. We're turning it right up. Let's go. Yeah.
Apparently fucking technically destroying their amps.
Probably. Yeah. I think they had crappy amps anyway, if memory serves. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of money for sure. I'm pretty sure the only reason they hired Ozzy Osbourne in the first place is because he had a sound system, his own sound system.
That's hilarious.
This guy can join the band because he's got equipment. So
yeah. That is definitely a selling point. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on your favorite track here?
I will say that I think that the lyrics specifically on this song are really fun. It's basically about a Satanism indoctrination, but the way that Ozzy Osbourne sings them, it makes it very tempting, which is very fitting with that idea of a forbidden concept.
Yeah, he's good at that, man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's almost it is funny. That's the thing with Ozzy Osbourne. He's his nickname is the Prince of Darkness, but he's the friendliest guy you'd ever see.
Yeah, he's you see him in interviews and stuff, right? And he just seems like a nice person.
Well, man, I'm just bless him at this point. I mean, I can't believe he's still going. To be fair,
I know he's at least 80, right?
He outlived Kobe and Matthew and Chandler. He outlived Chandler. How about that?
Really?
Yeah. For real, he's still going. We saw that coming. But yeah, man. Yeah, he does a grand job of this. The bass is just pumping.
70.
This is a fist bumping song if you've seen it live, which I mean, you won't know because they retired.
Definitely feels like. Yeah.
I have.
I almost say that again. This has a very, almost a funky thing going on with it.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I don't know much about the technicality of music. I don't know if you do either. Your fourths and your quartets and all this shit. Because there's definitely some technically musical rhythmics going on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can feel them. I don't know what they're called. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's about to knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. So this is kind of side one of the album, and it's interesting to me because this is actually relatively a short album. It's only 7 tracks, 43 minutes, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's I like that because I feel like I hate it when an album is bloated, and this album is just breezy to listen to.
Yeah, there's no fat on it for sure. Maybe you could have had an extra track. but whatever. Yeah, it works. I think it does what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
You got this. Okay, I'm gonna go to Evil Woman.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bit of a slower track,
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of swingy, groovy, and I mean, it's all about the chorus, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, now you start being. Pardon me. Now you're getting into Ozzy's. Ozzy's getting into the rhythm with how he wants to sing his choruses, because this is the first time they've actually put this on wax. But yeah, it's because he's got a weird voice and he's a weird guy, so you can imagine it was hard for him finding his style.
Yeah, it's interesting because nobody else sounds like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And he like wails, and yeah, it's definitely not it's not classical singing. It's not like trying to get the purest way.
It's not at all.
It's metal singing where you're trying to sound kind of off. You're trying to sound
right. Like metal and punk too kind of has that thing where like you sing words, and if they're comprehensible, it's a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's kind of crazy to me that more than anything, this song, I think, if I remember correctly, it's basically about a woman who dumps Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, I think that's where they got the inspiration. They kind of stretched it out a bit.
Yeah,
make it sound a bit more evil.
Yeah, a little bit.
Keep it on theme.
It's interesting to me because this album has a thing it likes to do, and I like it, but it likes to kind of like play an A section and a B section and then loop it a couple of times.
Yeah, they've got their patterns.
Quite a chorus verse structure.
Yeah, this song especially, for sure. Yeah, because it's kind of groovy. It's because like, you know what Ozzy's favorite band is? It's the fucking Beatles, man.
The Eagles? That's
the Beatles.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said the Eagles. Yeah, no, the Beatles. That makes perfect sense.
He probably likes the Eagles as well, but yeah, like the Beatles, I was like, oh no way, but yeah, he's mad on them. He's got all their vinyls and like everything.
That makes
bananas
sense
for it. But I think in this track, you can actually see it coming through a little bit. On the chorus for sure, it's got that,
Beatles-ish. Yes, that's interesting.
That's just my opinion.
I can kind of see it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you never know. But yeah, it's groovy. You say like this is groovy metal. I like groove metal. You've heard of Pantera, right, from Texas?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, like all that and like Clutch and stuff. Like groove metal, it definitely became a thing. Black Sabbath are a huge, they must be a huge influence for that as well. Pantera.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is a very groovy music. It's not like, like a million beats per minute or just like actively. Other than the title track, I feel like it's not actively like dissonant.
Yeah,
but yeah, it definitely has like a grooviness to it.
I think one thing Black Sabbath proved is you don't have to play fast to be heavy.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
What else we got?
Sorry.
Because like there's
my camera isn't the most stable.
I'm pretty because there's definitely like an acoustical. I think there's like an acoustical chill out track now. After Evil Woman. Memory serves.
But yeah, no.
It's just Black Sabbath always kept it. Again, if you like this album, I'd recommend Master of Reality for sure. It's just as great.
I think I'm going to listen to that, and then I'm going to go listen to Paranoid because it's Paranoid.
Yeah, well, yeah. Paranoid's got the hits on the number ones.
Yep. Yeah, definitely the hit album, which I think that came out after this. I think.
Yeah, I can't remember if there was another one between. No, you might be right. I think it was this and then Paranoid. I mean, damn, to do this one and then to do Paranoid.
Yes, I was right. And actually, it's in the same year. I remember I looked this up, actually. This came out in, I believe, in February. And the Paranoid came out in September.
Okay.
So to think about that, you released these two kind of insane albums in 1 year.
Yeah. They did well. They had no money as well. Their production budget was nothing. I say, just do what you gotta do with what you got. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it clearly worked. I don't think that the production on this album is anywhere like bad or anything. That's for certain.
I know. I mean,
it's a little rougher.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but they got what they needed. Like they were inventing a new thing. I mean, if their producer had like taken a good closer listen at what they were making, he'd have been like, "Stop, hold everything. No, I don't know about this." Or maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But that sometimes you don't need a producer to make that kind of music you're going for, like a super like, at least not like someone who's kind of like super processing everything. Not to say like over processed, but there's a value to like a grittier, rougher sound.
That for sure is. Yeah, you've got to kind of know your band. I mean, I think these guys were lucky. They kind of all gelled. They really started gelling like a few months beforehand, and then their momentum was really starting to pick up.
All right, I don't think I have anything else to say about the song. Do you?
Evil woman, don't you play your game? No, not really. Carry
on. We got Sleeping Village. Now, I will say that
okay,
of the album, this is the only song that I think maybe not even more production, but it maybe needed a bit of mixing. I feel like Ozzy's voice is quiet compared to the guitar and the bass.
I don't even remember it. It's got lyrics, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I just remember to say it's like it's acoustical at the start, and then it's just all over the place.
Yeah. It has this acoustic opening, which is actually really nice.
Yeah.
It somehow sounds metal, but like you wouldn't expect metal with an acoustic guitar. I don't think most people would, anyways. But
again, like I mean, nowadays, there's a bunch of bands who kind of tend that way and whatever. But this Black Sabbath just did everything. They did everything in metal on one album, and then they didn't even keep it up. They just carried on doing what they were doing.
I'd say like the beauty of finding something new is that there are no rules.
Yeah. For sure. Like, this track is not out of place on the album.
I like that though. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of chaotic and, Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't. It's their decision. It's not my decision. So it's definitely not out of place.
Well, especially you weren't alive till like 20 years after this album was made.
About 5 years, but all right.
5? Oh,
yeah. It's more than 84, man.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we could do loads of classic albums from the year of my birth. That's for another podcast.
Yeah, sure.
And then there's like 2 tracks remaining.
One track remains. This is the second last track.
Right.
But I will say I do like this track still. It's just that again, I really do wish that the guitar was mixed a little better.
Yeah. I say because like things start to run into each other. Maybe.
Then we got Warning. This is the last track of the album, and it's by far the longest track on this album.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good finish.
A good finish. I like it for a finish.
Yeah.
I do think it maybe should have been a little shorter because I mean there's this like last little bit where it's literally just Tony Iommi soloing for a bit, and it's good, but I don't know if it needed to go on as long as it did.
That's fair. Because they built up a certain kind of subtle momentum and subtle vibe. And then, they just needed kind of.
It's another song that kind of builds up.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
But again, I guess it's not an exact science. Who knows?
No, I wouldn't say it is, but
it's a good way. Like I like Ozzy's lyrics on this. I mean, I like Ozzy's vocals on this song.
Yeah,
it's like it's getting pretty soulful and stuff. And I think he brings this to a close better than like the other guys in this song. I think Ozzy's holding the flag, carrying the flag to the end. But that's good because that's the idea. But yeah, is there a chorus in the song? I can't remember.
Not really. It's more freeform than that.
Yeah. I mean, this album blends really well. Like you can't necessarily tell where one track ends and another begins, apart from Evil Woman or the first one where they've got distinct choruses. But yeah, this is kind of doing the same thing. So like the last like third of the album, yeah, it's a bit more freeform.
It's like the last 10 minutes of this album. Actually, I checked it. I think.
But yeah, I think it's been a while since we had a solid chorus like at this point.
Yeah, it definitely. It's a bit chaotic, and that's kind of a good thing. But I wonder if it maybe goes a little far on this specific song.
Yeah. Well, I think I say they did their freeform stuff, and I mean maybe they even realized it because like the next album is just like right, let's get to the point. You know, let's be efficient and etc.
Yeah,
and we saw how that went. But,
Paranoid is definitely a lot more controlled than the self-titled.
It's just, I mean, it's crazy that they went from this to straight to that. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I know they had
definitely again, like literally in like 6 months.
I know that's bananas. I say just straight to like Paranoid, War Pigs, again, Fairies Wear Boots or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah, See,
all right.
Track 1,
now
2, and 3.
We have our favorite track, least favorite track. So this is basically where we'll say our favorite track and why, and our least favorite track and why. So I already said it earlier, but my favorite track was NIB. Just a great groovy song. Definitely putting this on my playlist.
Yep.
Really nice.
I mean, that's absolutely fair enough. And
what's your favorite track?
Well, my favorite is going to be the first track, but I say yours is like much more of a track.
Yeah.
Mine's more just, I don't know. Mine, I love it because it's the invention, it's the birth of metal.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's the birth of them being like, right, it's time for some scary music, and y'all are going to get used to it.
It's definitely scary. That's for sure.
You know. Yeah. I mean, the beginnings, as you say, starts with a thunderstorm and an ominous bell. You know, come on, man.
Hello.
Oh, my word. Dave Mader in the house.
It's Dave Mader. He's blessed us with his appearance.
Yes. So sorry, I was busy watching a scary movie with around the corner, but it had the devil in it, so it kind of fits the theme here. Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, what did you think of the album?
What did I think of the album? It's good, I guess. It's not my thing, but it's like I think Ozzy Osbourne, a very iconic heavy metal voice. Mm-hmm. I think the guitar in it is really strong, very, very recognizable. And it's got some good imagery around it. A lot of it's all about the devil. It's very like the beginning. Like
like Benny was saying, it's very scary, almost
scary. Yeah, it's got a definite, like, even though you look at the cover of this album, it's very that in that sort of dark gothic painting style. Mm-hmm. Very.
I don't even think it's a painting. I think it's a picture somehow. But
can we throw it up on screen here? Let's have a look.
Yeah, they pieced it together through. Yeah, I think it's basically a few layers. That they kind of
I think it's some filters on it, but I do think it is a picture, not a painting.
I think Ozzy is definitely a picture. It looks like, but then the rest of it is sort of composite. Yeah, I think it's.
Well, we were talking about that too earlier. I thought this was Ozzy, but Benny thinks it's.
I don't think it's Ozzy, man, but I could be wrong.
It looks like a little bit, but yeah, I don't know if it is. We should look up that on there.
Yeah, I don't know either way. But
I'll see if there's any funny trivia we can find on this.
Mm-hmm. So don't worry, I'm too intrigued now. I'm going to find out in the next couple of days.
Anyways, do you have like a least favorite track for this, Dad?
For me, the last, I felt like it was getting better at the end, so I listened to this, I guess, more of a classic remastered version that ends with like 3 songs combined as one track. So because when I looked up even this album, there were so many versions of it,
I made sure to get the original version.
There's the European edition, but then there's North American edition.
It's funny, we've talked about this a couple times on the show now with like the Last Waltz and stuff, but there are so many editions of some albums,
right? Like they were all sort of like the first 3 tracks of it, like I guess Black Sabbath, The Wizard, and Behind the Wall of Sleep. Is that how it goes?
The Wizard is in between those 2.
Black Sabbath and The Wizard, and then there's like this other one that comes after, right? Yeah. They were sort of like very similar to me. It's Ozzy going, doing his thing, and then yeah, and then at the end I felt like there was more of a story. So I guess when I got into the track around NIB or whatever that was,
Yeah.
that was all right, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so you said the same favorite song with me then. Do you have a least favorite song?
Who, me?
No, Dad.
I don't know about least favorite song. Maybe the first one.
Really, Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
that's interesting because Benny said that was his favorite song.
I think that's fair enough. This is why we do these things.
Yeah.
Tell us why, Dave.
Well, it just was sort of like, okay, maybe not this song. Maybe I'll have to wait for the next song to get good.
It was boring, you saying?
I guess at the beginning of the album didn't necessarily get me excited, but as I was listening to it, I liked it more. So it was, but it's maybe just my predisposition to sort of go, this is not something I would put on normally if it wasn't this particular show, right? So it was, that's part of the reason I like doing this, is just to go, maybe there's something here more than I thought there was, or there's,
that's completely
at
fair.
least I respect what it is without having any particular affection for it, I suppose.
Very good.
What was your least favorite track, Benny?
Say what?
What was your least favorite track?
I think the one we were talking about. It's before Warning.
Yeah, Sleeping Village. I agree with that because
yeah.
I felt like Ozzy's voice was just too quiet in it. Other than that, it's good, but
it could do with a bit more direction. Basically, I say it's pretty freeform. It's pretty damn freeform, I'll say.
Yeah,
I say it's even less of a track than the first track, which I'll agree with Dave. I'll agree with Dave at this point. It's not as much of a track as it is an intro.
Than the rest of the album for sure.
And like what they're going to be in the future,
I've got to ask Dad then, because I was talking to you about this earlier, but compared to Dark Side of the Moon, which we talked about last week, which of these do you like more?
Between Dark Side of the Moon and this, very different, but both English bands, I guess.
English bands from like the mid 70s.
It's okay, Dave. Like, I love Black Sabbath, and I'll still say Dark Side of the Moon.
You still like Dark Side of the Moon more.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then
I think it's a better album, basically.
Yeah, I can't refute that.
I
think that they're different. They're very different sort of things. I guess Dark Side of the Moon is more my style, so I would prefer that, but not much.
Dark Side goes pretty heavy in parts anyway.
It does.
Just to stop you there with the cover, it's not Ozzy Osbourne. It is a figure, a model, Louisa Livingston.
Yes, nailed it.
It's a woman. So. It's not even a man at all. But she was that identity of who it was on the cover didn't even come out until 2020. So it took 50 years for that information to come out.
No one really cared until then.
Well, it's just an interesting thought, right? I think everybody, again, thought it was Ozzy. Clearly, there was a confusion there, and people could.
He's got his hair, I think.
Yeah. It's just a similar vibe, but not them. So kind of reminds me a little bit of the horror movie I just got out of, which was The Nun 2. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Oh, you saw The Nun 2, right?
Yeah, which is a spinoff of The Conjuring.
It is.
Right. Not bad. It's got some good scares, and it's all about the devil. The devil shows up in spoilers for The Nun too, a little bit, but the devil shows up in the form of
the devil.
The devil, in the form of a goat, and then he chases everyone around. He runs amok, So,
what are you gonna do if you're the devil?
Right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then when I was listening to this album today, it was like, I am the devil. And I was like, oh, I'm sure there were a lot of people who didn't want that on the radio, you know?
Yeah, that's another thing you could talk about is the controversy. I mean, that stuff still happens now, right? With the controversy surrounding heavy music. Somehow, even this.
Well, I just think like the embracing Satanism and all that kind of stuff in, I think, especially more in America than I guess in England, but it was,
Well, we embrace Satanism here too, so.
Yeah, well,
are they more Protestant in England though?
But they still Anglican, more specifically.
Oh, well, yes, exactly. We're not bothered. Just as long as there's tea and pints.
But anyways, we can pull up the rating.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Oh,
So
nice.
we've got musically, so like sonically. I'm gonna give this album an 8. I think it's a good album sonically, but there are some moments that aren't as interesting to me.
It's fair.
Benny, what are you gonna say?
Sonically,
Yeah.
give it a 7 maximum. Yeah, give it a 7.
Okay. And then Dad, you gave it a 5.
Yeah, the music, like maybe a 6. I'll bump that up to a 6.
Okay.
It's all right, but that's how I was feeling right before the show tonight. I was like, maybe it's a 5, just because I don't dislike it, but it doesn't necessarily
interest you either.
I'm going to play it over and over again, which is how I do a lot of my songs. But that's just me. That's my personality. So
lyrically, I'm gonna give this album a 7. It's nothing special lyrically. I think it other than NIB, which I kind of like the lyrics for specifically, none of it really interested me in terms of what it was saying. Benny, what are you gonna say for?
Ooh, I'll go with you on the. I'm gonna give it an 8, because basically I think it pushed a little further. Like, basically, I know the lyrics aren't revolutionary because you can find it in literature and all that kind of stuff in movies before they made this, but they took it all together and kind of pushed it through the heavy music kind of vibe. So yeah, I'll give them an extra point for that.
Okay. And then that again, you give it a 5.
Lyrics, like what I don't know. I was more like, what were the messages of the songs? What was I missing here? Because
beware, Dave, beware, the devil is coming for you. Right quick.
Was there anything more than that? Because I've always heard Ozzy's voice and not necessarily listening to the lyrics as much. So,
that's fair.
Was that every song? Was it like "Beware the devil's coming to get me"? Was that right?
No, there's a couple about like wizards and evil women and stuff to a blues. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, I think 7 is fair for this, for lyrically. I know it went pretty far, but yeah.
I think there's I think with Pink Floyd's lyrics, even though like
well, they don't make any sense.
Yeah, they don't make any sense anyway. It's all...
in terms of pacing, I'm gonna give this a 9. I think that it's a very light album and it does a very good job of
it's the shortest album we've done on this so far. Is an episode of 8.
Really?
Yeah, it's at 38 minutes.
You're welcome.
So,
so
it's not. It's some of the other versions go a little longer than that. Go to like 45 minutes and stuff.
So basically, people could have listened to the album like in less time than this podcast so far. That's good.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they'd be done by now, and they might be better. I don't know, but I think that I like that it's like compared to some other albums we've done, which are like well over, some are even over 2 hours. This is nice, It's like it's
like orchestra or something.
It's like light reading,
Penny, what are you going to give the pacing?
Ooh, the pacing. Yeah, I think the shortness gives it 1 more point, but I think all the flim flam at the end kind of takes a point away as well. So I'm actually going to give it a 6.
I can agree with that. I can understand that rather. And then Dad, you give it a 7. You kind of explained why. Visuals. In terms of visuals for this album, I'm going to give it a 10. Because to me, a 10 for visuals is I would hang it up as art, and I would definitely hang up this album art as like something. You could definitely see this being in like a museum or something, right? Or like
it's very iconic. I think it does a good job of being scary and sort of selling the message of the band and the album well. So yeah, I think it's maybe one of its strongest points.
Give it an 8. Then Benny, what are you gonna pick?
It's gonna be up there because it's just so iconic, and I think the vibe of the cover, again, as I've said, matches exactly the vibe of the music inside. It's unsettling. So yeah, let's give it a 9. It's not the greatest album cover of all time, but yeah, let's give it a 9.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you give it?
9.
A 9. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. And production, I'm gonna give it an 8. I think that the roughness is really good. I'm just docking off a point again for Sleeping Village, and you know, it's still not. They're still not like they clearly have a good production here. It's just not paranoid production yet. And so I'm not gonna have another point for that, I think. Benny, what are you gonna pick for production?
Yeah, it's rough and ready. They've got places to go for sure. Although I say with the amount of money that they spent on this album, which is like nothing, I think they did well. Give it a 7.
And then Dad, you gave it a 9. What was that?
I just think Ozzy. I think that the fact that this band came together and then in this was their first album. Like, there's kind of a magic to it in some ways. I think that it does a good job of them being sort of authentically them. This band, like, how long did this band go on for? It just broke up, right? Like
45 years, I think.
45 years, so it's pretty strong. Don't know how Black.
Okay, that's not really super accurate because like the original lineup didn't stay together for all that time.
Oh yeah, you're quite right. The whole Ronnie James Dio era, yeah. Which I didn't even mess with.
Yeah,
any of those albums.
Right.
To me, Black Sabbath.
Actually, it has its own page in Wikipedia, just past members of Black Sabbath.
Yep.
Yeah.
As well as a band called Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I mean, if you know your Ronnie James Dio history, you know about all that shit. But yeah, I don't know. For me, Black Sabbath, is Ozzy, Geezer, Tony, and hopefully Bill Ward or whoever they got to replace him.
Bill Ward's considered an original member.
And
then there's many others that come after: Dave Walker, Ronnie James Dio, Jeff Nickel, Vinny Alpes, Glenn Hughes, Tony Martin. It goes on and on.
Glenn Hughes.
Different drummers, and then they had different touring musicians as well with them, and different fill-ins here and there. So, a lot of people involved with the group. But you got the original 4, if you will. Go.
Yeah, the ones that laid the foundations.
Right, they're kind of like when I played like Rock Band or like the Guitar Hero and those kinds of games, I feel like this was sort of like one of the bands that like they were kind of modeling that game after. Like you got the vocalist, the bassist, the drummer, and the guitarist, and that's your band, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
compared to like Pink Floyd, who's got a lot of piano and different instrumentation and organs and stuff. But this is more of like this is just straight on, like, we're a heavy metal band, and
I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. Yeah,
right.
The classic 4-piece.
Yeah, there's not like they're just kind of straightforward, and they're not as I don't think there is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they're as like fancy and pretentious as maybe some other bands. So
definitely not. Anyways, I think that's it.
So what do we netted out here tonight with an average rating of 7.5 out of 10 between our 3 scores.
Yep.
Not bad.
Not terrible, that's for certain.
Technically our lowest rated. Only slightly edged out by the Bee Gees One Night Only. Which
you mean for lowest rated?
Actually, I think I would re-rate some of these albums. Oh, to be fair, some of these episodes only have 2 people on them.
Some have 3, so that also changes the scores, right? But it's not a bad score. It's not like we're giving it, we gave it like under a 6 or anything.
No, for sure.
To be fair, it's my album that I picked, and I'm okay with it. Like, it's not perfect. It's not there. I say it's more significant than it is an amazing, incredible album.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. And part of the reason I'm pulling down the scores a bit because it's just not my cup of tea. But that's okay.
No, that's fair.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm more a traditional rock guy, I guess, or even folk and a lot of other stuff. Bee Gees. I'd rather listen to the Bee Gees than
soft rock.
Yeah, I'm more soft rock.
Bee Gees is definitely more of your type of music.
REO Speedwagon. This is the kind of stuff.
Dave Matthews Band.
Not so much. But like Bare Naked Ladies and I don't know, like Goo Goo Dolls and that kind of stuff. So
anyways, bit of a shorter. Well, actually, I guess this wasn't too much of a short album. I thought it was going to be a shorter episode, but I mean, hey, it was a short album, so I'm not entirely shocked. next week we will be having Davan back on for
Davan Skelhorn.
But yeah, Davan Skelhorn for SVM.
I keep trying to get Benny to meet Davan. I think it's going to be an epic meeting when this happens.
I don't know how that would end.
Everyone says it's always going to be like two worlds colliding. It's going
to very much so.
They're going to annihilate each other upon meeting each other, but I don't think so. I think it'll be fine.
They're either going to destroy the entire universe or pass out. Yeah.
So this is our cousin Davan, who we do a lot of podcasts with, Benny. And I've invited him to play on the Mallrats. If he lives in Nova Scotia, and right now he's doing his X-Men podcast with André Myette.
Well, that's a perfect segue to talk about the other podcasts we have.
Yeah, and the United Federation of Podcasts.
Yes. So we have, as mentioned before, X-Rated podcast.
The X-Rated, all about the X-Men cartoon. And now that they've talked about every episode of the original X-Men cartoon, they are moving on to other X-Men things like the X-Men movies and some other cartoons. And then they've done some great interviews over there with like the creators of that cartoon, with like voice actors. They just had the guy who was Gambit on not too long ago. So it's
so cool.
It's some fun stuff over there.
We've got Live Long and Podcast, which is our
Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek show.
Different divisions. We got talk about episodes of Star Trek. We also do trivia, and we do like gaming, and we got the locutors of Trek.
This week.
We got we're kind of an off week this week, and then next week we're back with our final Enterprise retrospective, and we also there's something else we have cooking too. So watch out, check out Live Long and Podcast. But we just finished up Lower Decks last week.
We've got the Super Mader Brothers.
Yeah, the Super Mader Brothers podcast.
We are brothers.
Yeah, we got Dave and Jeff Mader talking about Survivor, Big Brother.
Jaemeel, the Mary Mader Marvel Society, often talking about different Marvel things. I guess we're going to be talking about Loki season 2 very soon. That's about to wrap up.
What did you think of that?
Well, it's not over yet, but I've been liking it. It's been pretty good.
We got Trivial Debates.
Yeah, we just did 2 Halloween themed episodes of Trivial Debates in October.
Double the Halloween, excellent.
Double the Halloween, double the fun. And I think Chris Murphy's working on the Transformers episode is coming up soon with Jody Simpson hosting. So
that's good. Let's see, what else do I think is that everything? No, we got
Hold Up, the movie podcast with Davan and Murphy talking about movies. 3 movies in a theme.
What are they doing this week? Do you know?
They did one with ghosts with Michael Chan recently.
That's fun.
One of them was 13 Ghosts, I think. So if you ever seen that movie. Yeah, I don't think Davan liked it though. So
Davan doesn't like a lot of things.
That's cool being a critic.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we got Hellbound, a horror podcast with Michael Chan and
Alex Blackburn, UK's own Alex Blackburn from he runs the Hellbound movie festival. Benny up in Northern England. There, he's actually from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, dude, I live in Northern England. Where?
I'll look it up.
Please do. Yeah,
the Hellbound movie podcast, and he does a bunch of different things up there, festivals.
Yeah, man, send me his details or something.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. Yeah, you should be. The Hellbound Horror Festival, open for submissions. It's October 1st. Yeah,
probably happened already here.
Yeah, they probably got the 2023 one coming up soon. So lots of cool stuff over there with Alex Blackburn.
I think that's everything.
Those are all the different shows. Yeah, I think so.
Yep. Yeah. All right, so that has been Eamon on Track. I've been Eamon.
I'm Dave. And Benny.
Yep, Benny. Yep. All right, it was nice seeing you guys.
And you did a great job. This is
nice having you join us on this album adventure. Wonderful day.
Yes, sir.
You too.